Part 14. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 131. Chapter 131 I Can Make a Floor. The man who was pushed away had strong in his eyes, his breathing was heavy and rapid, and the fire under his eyes seemed to be completely burning. The way he looked at her was like a beast staring at a little sheep. The little sheep that was targeted is trembling. Chiao Mian saw it, her face was as hot as fire, and her ears and neck were also red. Her eyes flickered a few times, and she looked away in panic. She knelt down and opened the suitcase. I'll pack my luggage. If you insist on staying tonight, then I'll go sleep on the sofa. That kiss just now scared her. She felt it so clearly. Would he really be able to bear it if they were still lying on the same bed for a while? Chiao Mian didn't quite believe him anyway. She could feel that Mo Yesie's desire was very strong. It was so strong that it made her a little scared. Mo Yesie looked at her with deep eyes for a few seconds, and curled up his thin lips. Baby, how can I let you sleep on the sofa outside? You sleep on the bed, and I sleep on the sofa. Chiao Mian immediately thought that the sofa in the living room seemed very small. She slept on it, barely able to sleep for one night. Mo Yesie, a tall man with long arms and legs and a height of more than 1.8 meters, couldn't sleep at all. If he sleeps on it, he won't be able to straighten his legs. Thinking of this, she frowned slightly. That sofa is too small, you will be very uncomfortable sleeping on it. A flash of light flashed quickly in Mo Yesie's eyes, and he immediately said, then I will sleep in the same room with you. Chiao Mian was stunned and her face felt hot. No. I sleep on the floor. Mo Yesie lowered his eyes and looked at the ground. There should be extra quilts here. I can make a bed on the floor. Chiao Mian. Without waiting for her to answer, the man's deep and dark eyes narrowed. Baby, if you don't allow me to sleep on the same bed with you, you can't even allow me to sleep on the ground, right? Don't forget, we are already married. You're a newlywed, you're going to kick your husband out of the room. Don't you think you're going too far? Chiao Mian. She thought about it and felt that she seemed to be going a little too far. Originally, before they got married, he said that he would not be a fake couple in name only with her. What he means is that as a wife, she needs to fulfill her marital obligations. It's okay if she doesn't let people sleep on the bed, and then kicks them out of the room. It is indeed quite excessive. After some self-reflection, she blushed and nodded. Okay then. I'll go see if there are any extra quilts. Mo Yesie curled his lips, the corners of his lips raised playfully. You go look for her, I'll take a shower first. After he finished speaking, he stretched out his hand to pull the tie around his neck, turned around and walked towards the bathroom. Hearing that he wanted to take a shower, Chiao Mian was stunned for a moment and said hurriedly, I don't have a change of clothes for you here. Mo Yesie had already walked to the door, paused for a moment, turned his head, and glanced at her with a half-smile. On the way here, I asked Wei Zheng to buy a few sets of clothes. He should be here soon. You can help me later take off your clothes. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 132. Chapter 132 I can't remember many things. Looking at the man's slender and tall figure walking into the bathroom, Chiao Mian was stunned for a few seconds, and heat came out of her face. Her fair and soft little face turned a little red. So, when he came to find her, he had already planned to stay with her tonight. This man had already planned to sleep with her tonight. The bathroom light came on. Soon, the sound of rushing water could be heard. The glass door of the bathroom is frosted, so you can't see anything clearly when looking in from the outside. However, a vague shadow can be seen. As soon as Chiao Mian raised her head, she saw the figure of Mo Yesie. Through a glass door, the man seemed to be taking off his clothes. His shirt was taken off. The lines of his upper body were very smooth and sexy. When he raised his hand, Chiao Mian could even see the bulging muscles on his arm. The man's body looks very strong and muscular. As Chiao Mian watched, her heart beat faster and her face became red and hot. She didn't know why, but she suddenly remembered that chaotic night. That night that she had almost forgotten due to her deliberate forgetfulness. That night, her consciousness was blurred and she could not remember many things. But she remembered that the man who took away her innocence also had an excellent figure, and her hands had touched his hot body. He not only has chest muscles, but also abdominal muscles. Just by the touch of his hands, you can feel that his figure is very sexy. She couldn't remember the man's voice clearly either. But whenever she hears Mo Yesi call her baby, she will think of that man. After realizing that she actually imagined Mo Yesi and the hateful man who violated her innocence as the same person, Chiao Mian frowned and immediately dismissed the idea. How could he be the prisoner? How could a man of his status do anything to force others? Just think about it and you know it's impossible. While thinking wildly, Chiao Mian blushed and looked away, not daring to continue looking. She was about to pack her luggage when she heard her cell phone ring. It was Mo Yesi's cell phone ringing. The sudden ringing of her cell phone finally pulled her soul back. Hearing the bell ringing over and over again, she hesitated for a few seconds, then turned and walked over. She placed her cell phone beside the bed. She picked it up and looked at it. She saw the words Yan Shaoqing displayed on it. She remembered that Mo Yesi had told her that he had a friend who was the young master of the Yan family. It should be this man named Yan Shaoqing. Yan Jiaqiao Mian knows it. It is one of the most famous families in Yunqing. Like the Mahist family, it is a very prominent and powerful family in the political and business circles. The phone was still ringing. Listening to the sound of water running from the bathroom, Chiao Mian hesitated for a few seconds and answered the call. A plaintive voice immediately sounded over there. "Second brother, didn't you say you wanted to bring your sister-in-law over to meet us? Why hasn't she arrived yet? You said that my sister-in-law is timid and is afraid of us uneducated people. My brother scared her. We even drove away those beauties in order to welcome our sister-in-law. Can you imagine how boring it would be for a group of men to sit there and drink? Don't tell us that you won't come." End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 133. Chapter 133. Hello, my name is Yan Shaoqing. Chiao Mian felt quite embarrassed after hearing this long list of complaints. So, Mo Yesi let go of his brother's dove for her? Huh. The sound Chiao Mian made immediately attracted the attention of the person on the other end of the phone. Yan Shaoqing seemed to have discovered some new continent, and his tone was very excited. "Sister-in-law." The call sister-in-law made Chiao Mian's face feel hot. She pursed her lips and said shyly, Yan, hello, sir." Wow, Yan Shaoqing shouted excitedly again, "Really, sister-in-law? Hello, sister-in-law, my name is Yan Shaoqing, and I am a good friend who grew up wearing crotchless pants with my second brother. Although we not real brothers, but better than real brothers. In short, my second brother and I have a very good relationship." For it. The corners of Chiao Mian's mouth twitched, and a polite yet awkward smile appeared on her lips. "Yes, really." "Yes," Yan Shaoqing said excitedly, "second brother told me before that I had a sister-in-law. I thought he was lying to me, but I didn't expect that he actually had a woman. From now on, I can never laugh at him again. I've been single for 10,000 years. Chiao Mian Mian. Oh my god, I'm so excited I don't have to worry about my second brother doing this for the rest of my life. Chiao Mian Mian. Sister-in-law, you don't even know. Our second brother is a weirdo. Before you, there was no trace of a woman around him. Growing up, I don't know how many girls secretly promised him, but he insisted on them. He has no interest at all. Not only is he not interested, he acts as if he has been raped and resists. What do you think is wrong with him? Just because he is not interested in women, I have been worried for a long time. I am really afraid that he is interested in men. Think about it, he and I grew up together, we have been naked together in the shower many times. If he is interested in men and suddenly tells me that he falls in love with me, what should I do? Isn't it a pity? Although I don't despise love between men, I still accept my inability to have with a man. What's more, that man is still my good brother. Think about it, I treat you as a brother, but you want to asterisk me, this what a terrible thing. Why does she think this young master of the Yan family is a drama star? Is this too much drama? Just because Mo Yesi showed no interest in women before, he could assume that Mo Yesi wanted to have with him. Moreover, I have been tangled up in so many different ideas. He has so many dramas in his mind that it would be a waste of talent not to be a screenwriter. He thinks so much, does Mo Yesi know? I have been worried and entangled for so many years, and now I can finally feel relieved. If you say that such an excellent man as my second brother is really going to have sex, wouldn't it mean that his face and good figure are all in vain? Well, Mr. Yan. Chiao Mian Mian couldn't bear it anymore. After twitching her mouth a few times, she interrupted him, you don't have to worry about this. Mo Yesi is normal. He likes women and he is not interested in men. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 134. Chapter 134. Miss Shen will return to China tomorrow. What should I say, Mo Yesi is also her husband now. Chiao Mian Mian felt that she had to clarify both emotions and reasons. She has to let people know that her husband is an extremely normal man. Yan Xiaoqing was silent for a moment, then spoke again, in a very low voice, with a mysterious look, sister-in-law, is the second brother next to you? Didn't he hear what I just said to you? No, he's not with me, he went to take a shower. Have you taken a shower? Yan Xiaoqing was silent for a moment, and then let out an ambiguous chuckle, so early. Chiao Mian Mian. Did this young master of the Yan family misunderstand something? Thinking of this, Chiao Mian Mian felt a little uncomfortable. Her face was extremely hot, and she hurriedly explained, Mr. Yan, you misunderstood. It's not what you think. Okay, I understand. Yan Xiaoqing sounded like someone who has come before, and smiled mischievously, since my sister-in-law and second brother are still busy, I won't disturb you. You give it to second brother, send a message that Miss Shen will return to China tomorrow and arrive at Yunchinj at 10:30 in the morning. He will pick her up if he has time. I will send him the specific flight information in a moment. By the way, we have a party tomorrow night for Miss Shen. Sister-in-law, you can come too. We brothers all want to meet you. Yes, sister-in-law, you come with ACI tomorrow night. We all need to bring our family members. In the past, ACI was alone and had no family members to take care of him. Now that he has a sister-in-law, he can't hide it anymore. Don't let us see you. There was another man next to Yan Xiaoqing, and he was calling little sister-in-law, little sister-in-law. From the sound of his voice, he is also a very young man. Chiao Mianmian's face heated up when they called her, and she couldn't resist the various warm invitations from the two of them. She blushed and agreed, well, I'll tell him later. Hang up the phone. Chiao Mianmian reached out and touched her cheek, which was still hot. Thinking of the Miss Shen that Yan Shaoqing just talked about, she felt a little curious. I want to see what kind of person Miss Shen is. After all, she must be a very outstanding girl to be the only friend of the opposite around Mo Yesi. Not long after she answered the phone, she heard a knock on the door. Thinking of what Mo Yesi had explained before, she quickly walked to the door and opened it. Wei Zheng stood at the door carrying a few clothes bags. When he saw her, he called out respectfully, "Young madam." Qiao Mian nodded lightly towards him. "These are some clothes that the young master asked me to buy." I also asked the young madam to bring them to him. While speaking, Wei Zheng secretly glanced into the room. He didn't see Mr. Mo, but he heard the faint sound of water flowing from a certain direction. Looking up again, Wei Zheng couldn't help but think wrong when he saw the blush on Qiao Mian's face. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 135. Chapter 135. What are you afraid of? He was still single and had no love experience, so he couldn't help but blush. Look at the time, it seems to be less than 11 o'clock now. Ahem, you are indeed newlyweds, full of passion. However, it's understandable if you think about it. If he had a wife as beautiful as the young lady, he would not be able to bear it. When Qiao Mian reached out to pick up the bag of clothes, she happened to see the meaningful and ambiguous expression on Wei Zheng's face. She knew that Wei Zheng must have misunderstood something without even asking. He was probably like the young master of the Yan family, thinking that she and Mo Yesi had just had an affair. But, she really didn't do anything. Asterisk. 10 minutes later. The sound of water in the bathroom stopped. Qiao Mian hung a piece of clothing in the cabinet, and when she turned to pack another piece of clothing, she heard Mo Yesi's voice coming from the bathroom, Mian, come here. Men's voices are inherently and magnetic. It was slightly hoarse due to the hot air, which was even more sultry. Qiao Mian thought that he must have finished washing, so she walked to the bathroom door with her clothes. She stretched out her hand and knocked on the door. Mo Yesi, please open the door and I will hand you the clothes. As soon as he finished speaking, the bathroom door opened with a click. White water vapor rushed out. Qiao Mian thought that Mo Yesi had just taken a shower and must not be wearing clothes yet, so she didn't dare to look in his direction. She turned her head and handed the bag over, her voice low and a little nervous. Well, the clothes are here, take them in and change them. From the crack in the door, a man's hoarse and low voice came out, what are you afraid of? I won't eat you. The wrist tightened, and the man's hot palm covered it, pulling her into the bathroom with force. Qiao Mian exclaimed, ah! The next second, she was pulled into the bathroom and bumped into the man's hot and strong chest. The bathroom was filled with hot air. The man had just taken a shower, and his body was still smelling of shower gel. It was a light mint scent, with a little bit of his own unique musky scent. The charming hormonal breath hits your nose. I don't know whether it was because the temperature in the bathroom was too high or because the impact just now was too hard, but Qiao Mian felt dizzy. The man's heartbeat was so strong that every beat made his entire chest vibrate. Qiao Mian pressed half of her face against his hot chest. Listening to his strong heartbeat, her heartbeat couldn't help but speed up. Mo Yesi's strong arms wrapped around her waist and held her tightly in his arms. With his other hand, he raised her chin, looked deeply into hers with his deep and burning eyes, and said in a low voice, baby, you seem nervous. What are you afraid of? The girl in her arms was very tense. Her little hand was still pressed against his chest full of precautions, her teeth were biting her pink lips tightly, her eyes were wide open, and she was looking at him full of precautions. Like a kitten whose hair explodes in danger. Maybe she doesn't even know how cute she looks. She's so cute that, makes him want to bully her severely. Think about it, his mentality seems a bit abnormal. But he couldn't control it either. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 136. Chapter 136. Her tears can make him lose control instantly. Her tears can make him lose control instantly. Looking back on the process of bullying her that night, he felt that he was quite an animal. The man stared at her delicious pink lips, his eyes gradually darkened, his warm fingertips slowly moved up, fell on her soft lips, and pressed lightly. "Mo Yesi." Chiao Mian met his gaze, her heart skipped a beat and she became panicked. The man's eyes were too deep and too dark, and the desire in his eyes was too obvious. She was a little scared. The girl's eyes kept flickering, and she was nervous. She put her white and tender hands on his chest and pushed him gently, trying to withdraw from his arms. When her palm touched the hot skin, she was stunned for a moment. She looked down and saw that he was only wearing a bath towel. Her eyes widened, and then her face was stained with blush. In my heart, I became more and more panicked. A man and a woman were alone in the same room, and she was held in the arms of a man wearing only a bath towel. The atmosphere is too ambiguous and too dangerous. Especially when the man's dark and deep eyes looked at her, she felt like she was being stared at by a beast. Her heartbeat was trembling violently, and her eyes were shining brightly. "You, let me go." Before he finished speaking, Mo Yesi lowered his head and kissed her deeply. The girl's lips were as sweet as ever, and after catching the breath on her lips, I didn't want to let her go. His lips and tongue seemed to be on fire, leaving each mark hotter than the last on her soft and sweet lips. That kiss, which was like a prairie fire, was soon no longer satisfied with just grazing on her lips. His hot and moist lips moved downward little by little, leaving more of his marks on her body. The big hot hands slowly moved up along her slender waistline. "Baby," the man buried his head in her neck, his voice was hoarse, and he murmured passionately, "Baby." Chiao Mian simply couldn't withstand the man's too strong kiss, and her body lay softly on his chest. "Well, Mo Yesi, don't." Listening to her crying voice, the man raised his head, his dark and burning eyes stained by fell on her charming little face, looking at her pitiful appearance of being bullied and about to burst into tears. Not only did he not stop, he held her palm-sized face and kissed her deeply again. Woo! Chiao Mian felt like she was about to suffocate. She couldn't catch her breath and couldn't catch her breath. Between his lips and teeth, and in his nose, there was the domineering and powerful aura of a man. He seemed to be eager to swallow her into his belly. He kissed her ferociously. He held the back of her head with his big hands and pressed her hard against him. The last bit of oxygen in the chest was also sucked away. The brain also begins to be deprived of oxygen. Chiao Mian burst into tears of discomfort, her little face turned red, her brows were furrowed, and her white and tender hands were beating on his chest resistingly. Her little strength was like scratching an itch for Mo Yesi. The man easily took hold of her little hand that was beating on his chest, raised it to his lips, and kissed the back of her hand. "Mo Yesi, let me go." Chiao Mian could finally take a breath. Her eyes were full of tears. When she spoke, her soft voice was full of tears, and she was panting heavily. "You said you wouldn't touch me now." End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 137. Chapter 137. He can't help but not mind. She squirmed and struggled in his arms. Mo Yesi took a deep breath and tightened his hold on her waist, so hard that he almost broke her waist. "Baby, don't move. You want me to have it in the bathroom, you." The girl's soft and fragrant body twisted around in his arms. His voice was hoarse and hoarse. While speaking, he was panting heavily. Chiao Mian raised her head with tears in her eyes and saw the extremely forbearing expression on the man's extremely handsome face. He pursed his lips, and water drops rolled down his forehead. Follow his forehead and slowly slide down to his tall and three-dimensional nose. During his breathing, his Adam's apple rolled several times. Especially seeing his slightly painful look because of the forbearance, Chiao Mian's mouth became a little dry as she watched. The man in front of him was full of temptation. Everywhere, people feel full of hormones. Chiao Mian looked at him blankly, thinking that such an ascetic and self-sufficient man would lose control for her. She felt a little secretly happy and proud in her heart. I feel that a certain aspect of women's vanity has been greatly satisfied. Baby, be good, don't move. Mo Yesi buried his head in her hair, took a few deep breaths, and said in a hoarse voice, baby, be good, just let me hold you like this for a while, and then hold her for a while. Chiao Mian was held tightly in his arms. After a while, his breathing gradually calmed down. The arms that were restrained around her waist slowly relaxed their strength. Baby. His voice was still hoarse. He slowly raised his head, reached out to hold her bright red face, put his forehead against hers, and rubbed it gently. Are you not ready yet? Remember what I said. What's going on? I'll give you a week. There are only 2 days left. I hope you can adjust your mentality as soon as possible. I don't want you to resist me like this after a week. I want to be a real couple with you, not just in name only. After saying that, he gently rubbed her forehead again, and his big hand fell on her delicate cheek, caressing her twice. My patience is also limited, and I don't want to force you. Do you understand what I mean? He has always wanted her. This desire for her became even stronger after seeing Suzy today. Even though he knew that there would be no possibility between her and Suzy, when he thought that she and Suzy had reached the point of discussing marriage, and that they still had a special relationship, that they had known each other for 10 years, he would inevitably have feelings in his heart. Envy. Suzy is her childhood sweetheart. Is also her first love. It was the man she almost married. If it weren't for Suzy's cheating, she would happily wait to be Mrs. Su, and her husband would be a man named Suzy, not Mo Yesi. As long as he thinks about these things, he can't help but mind them. Please recommend me, please vote, and please give me a 5-star rating. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 138. Chapter 138. He already respects her very much. She once had a fiancé with whom she had been in a relationship for 10 years. How could she just forget about her 10-year relationship? Even if she acted like she didn't care, it was impossible for her to have no feelings for Suzy at all. And what about Suzy? Men understand men more deeply and thoroughly than women. With just one glance, he could tell that Suzy was still thinking about her. If she happens to still remember his old relationship, the two of them may get back together at some point. It was just a marriage in name only, and he was worried about it. Only when she completely becomes his, he will feel more at ease. Chiao Mian met the man's hot, lustful eyes. Her heartbeat was beating very fast, and she swallowed nervously. Just when she was about to say something, the man held her face, kissed her forehead gently with restraint, and said in a low voice, "Okay, you can go out." Baby, think about my words carefully. I am a normal man. It's very uncomfortable to hold it in like this every time. A week is enough for you to adjust your mentality. Asterisk. Chiao Mian came out of the bathroom, her cheeks still red. The heartbeat has not slowed down yet. She was still thinking about what Mo Yesi said. Obviously, he was reminding her that he could endure not touching her for 2 days at most. When a week is up, he will no longer endure it like this. So, in the last 2 days, it is best for her to be mentally prepared in advance. Actually, he already respects her very much. Knowing that she had not yet adapted to their relationship, he gave her a week. Even though it was so hard to bear it, I couldn't bear to touch her. He could have done without. If he must do that kind of thing with her, according to the agreement between them, she cannot refuse. Mo Yesi's deep eyes full of desire appeared in his mind, and Chiao Mianmian's heart beat much faster. In her vague memory, the man who forcefully robbed her of her innocence had also stared at her with such a look. Thinking of the man that night, Chiao Mianmian clenched her fists and felt a little uneasy in her heart. According to Uncle Li, Mo Yesi had never had another woman before. So, he should still be? Although they had only been married for a few days and she did not know him well enough, she could also see that he had a certain degree of misophobia in both life and relationships. Then, can he accept that she is not a virgin? If he finds out that he has returned with a wife who is not a virgin, will he be angry, disappointed, or even despise her for being unclean? While my mind was in a mess, I heard the phone ringing. It was Mo Yesi's cell phone ringing. Chiao Mianmian walked over and took a look, and saw the word Shenro displayed on the flickering screen. Lu Rao had popularized it before, so the word Shenro was not unfamiliar to Chiao Mianmian. Thinking of what Yan Shaoqing asked her to convey before, Chiao Mianmian guessed that Miss Shen probably called to tell Mo Yesi that she would be back tomorrow. The bell rang for the third time. Just as Chiao Mianmian was about to take the phone and hand it to Mo Yesi, she heard the bathroom door click open. Mo Yesi put on his nightgown and walked out. The man was wearing a pure black silk nightgown with a slightly open collar, revealing a strong and attractive chest. His wet hair was still dripping with water. The water droplets rolled down to his forehead, and then slid down from his forehead, along his tall and straight hair. The bridge of the nose slides to the thin lips. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 139. Chapter 139 Shenro, I'm married. The belt of her nightgown was tied loosely, as if it would fall apart at any moment, revealing the figure underneath that would make people nosebleed. Men typically look thin when dressed and look fleshy when undressed. Chiao Mianmian's eyes widened when she saw those tight and strong muscles. She knew that Mo Yesi had a good figure. I didn't expect that he could be in such good shape. While walking around, those looming muscles are simply and alluring. It wasn't until the man walked up to her, lifted her chin, and looked at her teasingly that Chiao Mianmian suddenly came back to her senses. Baby, the man's voice was low and seductive, would you like me to take off my clothes so you can take a good look at me? Boom. Chiao Mianmian's fair and tender face turned red instantly. Cough cough cough, she coughed violently. No need. Are you sure? The man's handsome and profound facial features were gradually enlarged in front of her eyes, and he playfully raised his lips and said, you really don't want to look at it? I will change my mind after a while. Chiao Mianmian, I'm sure. Facing the man's dark eyes that seemed to be smiling but not smiling, Chiao Mianmian's face felt hot. She quickly looked away and changed the subject. Well, someone called you. Aren't you going to answer the phone? Mo Yesi seemed to have just heard his cell phone ringing. He raised the corners of his lips, slowly withdrew his gaze, lowered his eyes and glanced at the cell phone that was still ringing, picked it up and pressed connect. A brisk voice immediately sounded on the phone, with a bit of embarrassment. ACI, why did it take you so long to answer the phone? What are you doing? I was just taking a shower. Mo Yesi glanced at Chiao Mianmian standing next to him and said calmly, is something wrong? Can't I call you when nothing happens? The woman seemed a little dissatisfied, but her tone was delicate, and she didn't really mean to complain. You guy, if I don't call you, you don't know how to take the initiative to call you. Give me a phone call. Mo Yesi frowned, but his voice was still calm. Since you have nothing to do, just hang up. Wait, the woman said hurriedly, a little annoyed, don't hang up, I have something else to tell you. What's up? Before the woman could speak, Mo Yesi reached over and took Xiao Mian into his arms. He lowered his head and kissed her gently on the cheek, and said softly, baby, help me blow down my hair. The hair dryer is in the bathroom, go get it. Come out. Xiao Mian raised her head, looked at his still wet hair, nodded and said, okay, wait a minute, I'll get a hair dryer. Yeah. Mo Yesi kissed her gently on the face again before letting her go. When Xiao Mian turned to go to the bathroom to get a hair dryer, the woman on the other end of the phone came over with a somewhat confused and surprised voice. ACI, who were you talking to just now? There is a woman next to you. Yeah. Mo Yesi found a place to sit down and gently curled his lips and said, Shenro, I'm married. The one just now was my wife. After at least 1 minute of silence, the woman's voice sounded again, when did you become so joking? Mo Yesi was stunned for a moment, his brows furrowed slightly, and his tone was rare and serious. It's not a joke. Besides, you know me, since when did I like to joke about this kind of thing? There was another full minute of silence. Why so suddenly? Didn't you say you are not interested in any woman? Did your uncle and aunt force you to get married? So. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 140. Chapter 140. ACI, is she that good? No. Mo Yesi interrupted her in a deep voice, no one can force me to do something I don't want to do. It's my own choice. Then do you like her? The woman's voice had a slight vibrato. Aren't you not allowed to touch women? Are you cured of your illness? She is an exception. Mo Yesi stretched out his hand to rub the center of his eyebrows. He looked at the girl who came out of the bathroom with a hair dryer, and the curve of his lips deepened. I can touch her. So that's why you married her? Yes, not entirely. ACI, marriage is not a child's play, you shouldn't do it so casually. Okay. The woman's consolation made Mo Yesi's eyes show a trace of impatience, and his tone became colder. I know how to handle my own affairs. What else do you have to do? There was silence for a few more seconds, and the woman's voice became a little dry. I will return to China tomorrow and arrive in Yunchinj at 10:30 in the morning. Can you pick me up? Xiao Mian walked to Mo Yesi with a hair dryer. As soon as he plugged it in, the man stretched out his hand and pulled her into his arms. She was pushed by him and sat on his lap. The man's strong arms wrapped around her waist, pinched the soft flesh around her waist, and then said to the woman on the other end of the phone, there is an important event tomorrow morning. Meeting, I'll ask Yan San and Lao Si to pick you up. What kind of meeting is so important? Is it more important than me? The woman complained dissatisfiedly. Shenro, you are not a child anymore, don't be willful. Humph, if it were your wife who returned to China, wouldn't you pick her up? Wife? Mo Yesi lowered his head and glanced at the cute girl in his arms. When he met Xiao Mian's dark and bright eyes, the corners of his lips raised and his voice softened a bit. Of course not. If it were her, I would let go of everything. Pick her up. After a few seconds, the woman's voice sounded again, seemingly a little more competitive. ACI, is she that good? Mo Yesi, yeah. Okay, it's okay if you don't come to pick me up. You always have time to come to the wedding banquet in the evening, right? Bring your newlywed wife with you. We had agreed at the beginning that whoever has a significant other will be brought out so that everyone can get to know each other. Let me ask her. Mo Yesi took the phone away a little, touched the head of the girl in his arms, and said with a raised lip, when Shenro returns to China, Yan-san and the others will prepare a wedding banquet for her, tomorrow night. Will you go with me? They said they wanted to meet you. In one more day, it will be the weekend. Tomorrow night, Chiao Mian is free. She thought for a while and said, is it convenient for me to go? Will it affect you? What's the inconvenience? They are all my friends for many years. They heard that I got married and were very curious about you. They have been clamoring to see you. Mian, when you marry me, not only do you have to try to accept me, but you also have to try to accept me. Trying to slowly integrate into my life circle. I want to introduce you to my friends as soon as possible. Chiao Mian was silent for a few seconds and nodded slightly, okay, I'll go. Mo Yesi's behavior was actually a kind of recognition for her. He only wanted to introduce his best friend to her if he really considered her his wife. If she refuses, he will definitely be angry. Seeing her nodding, the man's lips curled up, and he gently rubbed the top of her head, and then replied to the woman on the other end of the phone, I will take her there tomorrow night. You all should restrain yourself then, she is timid. Don't scare her. If there's nothing else, just hang up. Mo Yesi, yes, my wife is the best in the world.